A cold, empty night on I-90. Madison Walker, 32, stands shivering at the Quick Go gas station in Ellensburg, Washington. Neon lights spill across her pale, stunned face, her hair tangled, eyes swollen with tears. Just hours earlier, Madison believed she would have a meaningful birthday with her husband, Eric Walker, and their closest friends. A white SUV pulls away, its taillights fading into the mist. Inside, Eric and his buddies, Jason Bennett, Kevin Brooks, blast music and laugh together, celebrating their last prank. Meanwhile, Madison, in a thin party dress, no coat, no phone, no wallet, slowly realizes she's been left behind. The only people around are gas station workers, watching her with pity and confusion. She tries the payphone by the entrance, but her mind is blank. She can't remember anyone's number except Eric's. Every call leads to a busy signal or his cold, impersonal voicemail. The wind cuts her face. Madison thinks to herself, how many birthdays have I had to wipe away my own tears? Fear and humiliation set in. She hears Eric's words echo in her mind. You're too sensitive. Everyone's been through pranks like this, but this time it's gone too far. Abandoned in a strange town with not a single dollar and no one reaching out, Madison feels betrayed by everyone she ever trusted. An elderly couple, filling up their car nearby, pause and gently ask, "Are you okay, dear?" Madison forces a shaky smile, mumbling, "I'm fine, thank you." But her eyes give away the helplessness and pain. Old memories flood back. Every time Eric and his friends teased her, every moment she was made the punchline at family gatherings. Madison had always tried to laugh it off, believing it was just part of marriage. But tonight, alone in the cold darkness, she realizes she's reached the very bottom of heartbreak. After being left behind at that cold, lonely gas station, I started my journey back, though I had no plan, no idea where to even begin. The night wind on I-90 whipped against my skin, and my thin birthday dress did nothing to stop the shivers running through my body. Under the dim streetlights, I trudged forward, trying hard not to cry. I didn't dare call anyone. I didn't want anyone to see me like this. Trucks thundered by, their headlights slicing through the darkness, reminding me just how lost and alone I was. No Eric. No friends. No one. Just me and the ache of being abandoned. A while later, I spotted a convenience store, its lights still glowing. Hope flickered. I stepped inside, praying for help. But the young cashier barely looked up. "What do you need?" she asked, bored and indifferent. I stumbled through my story, how I'd been left behind with no phone, no money. She just shrugged. "Sorry, we can't let customers use the phone." Walking back outside, helplessness washed over me. My legs were numb, my throat raw. I thought about Eric. Was he even a little bit sorry? Or was he still laughing with his friends, treating my humiliation as just another joke? The thought stabbed at my heart. When did I become someone everyone found it so easy to leave behind? I kept walking, not knowing where I was headed. A long-distance bus pulled up nearby. Desperate, I approached the driver. "Sir, could you help me? I got left behind. I don't have any money. I just need to get back to Seattle." He studied me for a moment, then nodded, letting me ride all the way to the last stop. On that rattling night bus, I leaned against the window, tears quietly streaming down my face. Suddenly, I remembered my childhood. I used to be a brave little girl, believing the world would love me as long as I was kind and patient. But growing up, I realized being gentle only gets you pushed deeper into the shadows if you don't learn to stand up for yourself. That night, as the bus rolled into Seattle, I made a decision. I would never let anyone turn me into a punchline again. If I wanted to live true to my feelings, I had to learn to stand up, even if it was just the first step, even if it meant stepping out of the shadow of the fragile wife everyone expected me to be. The bus terminal was deserted. I pulled my borrowed jacket tighter, walking into the fog. There was a strange feeling inside me, pain, yes, but also a sense of relief. For the first time in my life, I accepted my loneliness. I started to see that maybe I could find myself again in the smallest things, choosing my own path home, wiping my own tears, and deciding for myself what to do next. I got back to my apartment in Seattle just as the sky began to lighten. The city was still shrouded in mist, the streets nearly silent. The place that once felt like my safe haven now seemed strangely foreign. Exhausted and freezing, I slipped in quietly, hoping to find some familiar warmth. But instead, the silence pressed down on me, heavy and suffocating. Eric was sitting on the sofa, eyes glued to his phone, his face perfectly calm, as if last night's events were nothing at all. I spoke up softly, trying to break the ice. "What do you have to say about what happened last night?" Eric looked up, surprised to see me. "Oh, you're back? Everyone was worried about you, you know." "It was just a joke, Madison. Why are you making such a big deal out of it?" I stood there, stunned by how he could call leaving his wife alone in the cold with no warning just a joke. He shrugged and kept explaining. "Madison, you're way too sensitive. My friends have all been pranked like this before. Nobody complains. I thought you'd just laugh it off, too." I searched his eyes, looking for some trace of the man I once knew. All I found was coldness, detachment, and maybe a hint of awkwardness. His buddies, Jason and Kevin, texted in their group chat saying I was overreacting, taking it way too personally. Linda, my mother-in-law, heard about what happened and called to comfort Eric. She said, "Don't worry, son, Madison will get over it. Everyone in the family has been the butt of a joke at some point. It's just part of fitting in." I felt the world spinning around me. Everyone seemed to want me to fit in, to just smile and act like nothing was wrong. No one asked if I was cold or scared or if it hurt to be turned into a public punchline by the people I trusted most. Even my best friend Chloe, when she reached out, sounded hesitant. "Madison, I know you're upset, but maybe try to see it from Eric's side. He probably just wanted to surprise you, to make you laugh." It hit me then. In everyone's eyes, I was being dramatic, too sensitive, bringing it on myself. Nobody was truly on my side. I felt like a stranger in my own home. That evening, dinner was painfully awkward. Eric told stories about how his friends used to prank each other, stories even worse than what happened to me. I tried to keep calm, but every word, every glance only deepened my sense of isolation. Everyone had a reason to justify their actions, while my feelings were dismissed, as if my pain was invisible. I cleaned up after dinner in silence, each movement weighed down by the heaviness in my chest. That night, I sat alone by the window, watching the distant city lights, asking myself, how long do I have to live in this denial? When will my feelings finally be acknowledged? When will I finally be seen as a real person? For the first time, I saw the line between enduring to fit in and losing myself. And I knew if I didn't speak up, no one else would ever stand up for my feelings but me. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Old friends, colleagues at Horizon Media, even some people from college, everyone seemed to have heard their own version of what happened last night, but none of those versions came from me. On Facebook, screenshots of group chats appeared. Someone even posted a status update, just a harmless prank and someone's making a huge deal out of it. There was a photo of me at the gas station, red-eyed, dress-stained, face hollow and shocked. I had no idea who had sent it or how it got into the group chat, but it was everywhere, paired with laughing emojis and nasty comments. So dramatic, right? Maybe she's just really fragile. I got left behind before and I survived just fine. I realized I had completely lost control of my own story. People around me were talking about me like I was some character in a comedy show, and no one cared about how I truly felt. The truth was twisted, warped by every new retelling. Then the anonymous messages started coming in. Some people said I was too sensitive, ruining everyone's fun, and even suggested I should chill out and stop being so negative. Each message, each comment felt like a tiny blade slicing through what was left of my already fragile self-esteem. Even Chloe, my closest friend, started to distance herself. She stopped replying to my texts, avoided me at work. I knew she was scared of getting sucked into the drama, scared of having to choose sides, scared of becoming a target herself. The loneliness grew bigger and bigger, swallowing me whole, even in broad daylight. I tried reaching out to my mother-in-law, hoping she might understand, maybe defend me the way she once did when I first joined the family. But Linda only gave my shoulder a gentle pat and whispered, "Madison, you need to toughen up. Nobody likes someone who can't handle themselves." I turned away in silence, knowing I had nowhere left to lean on. Day by day, the gossip kept spreading. I overheard Eric telling his coworkers, "Yeah, my wife's just been a little stressed out lately. You know how women get, always overthinking everything." He wasn't shy about telling his side, using me as proof that he'd done nothing wrong. At the office, I could feel the stares, hear the not-so-subtle jokes. I heard your birthday was pretty unforgettable this year, huh? I smiled back, hiding my pain behind a mask of silence. There were nights I couldn't sleep, burying my face in my pillow, asking myself, why is it so easy for everyone to judge my pain? How can one twisted story drown out the truth and hurt me so much? I started to understand. If I didn't stand up and defend my own truth, no one else would do it for me. But I was still scared. Scared that if I spoke up, things might get even worse. But if I stayed silent, I'd lose myself completely, forever. That night, I sat silently by my bedroom window, staring out at the distant lights of Seattle. Everything felt blurry, cold, and far away. For years, I had lived my life as a person who endured things, always putting up with it, always trying to fit in, telling myself, things will get better eventually. But the more I tried to be patient, the more I lost myself, getting pulled deeper into the orbit of people who saw someone else's pain as their entertainment. I remembered my childhood. Back then, Madison was a brave little girl, someone who would stand up for a friend, who wasn't afraid to call out unfairness at school. Somewhere along the way, as I grew up, I forgot just how strong I used to be. All because I was so scared of being disliked, so afraid to upset anyone, so desperate to hold on to whatever fragile acceptance I had from my husband's family. Memories of every cruel joke, every time I was the target of ridicule, the cold looks from Eric's friends, the whispers of my colleagues, these all spun around and around in my mind. The same questions kept replaying. Was it my fault? Am I really just weak? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized my biggest mistake was letting others decide my worth. I cried a lot. But these were not the tears of a weak, defeated wife. These were tears of awakening. For the first time in my life, I allowed myself to feel it all, to hurt, to be angry, to break down. And for the first time, I said to myself, enough, Madison. It's time to stand up for yourself. I went online and typed, therapists in Seattle, support for women facing emotional abuse, how to rebuild confidence after betrayal. Hundreds of results appeared, stories from other women, each with their own pain, but all sharing the same thing. They'd all been overlooked, all been made to feel like a shadow in someone else's life. I found the courage to email a therapist, Dr. Emily Sanders, and set up my first appointment. I knew this journey wouldn't be easy, but if I kept silent, I'd forever be the victim of a joke in someone else's story. That night, I made a crucial decision. Starting tomorrow, I would stop apologizing for being sensitive. I would no longer try to fit in by swallowing my feelings. I would speak my truth, set my own boundaries, even if it meant facing cold shoulders, anger, or distance from people around me. For the first time in days, I finally fell asleep. Not the restless sleep of someone trapped and powerless, but the sleep of a woman beginning again, holding a brand new trust in herself. The first time I stepped into Dr. Emily Sanders' office, I was still so lost. My heart felt like it was made of 100 broken pieces. Dr. Emily was a woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a gentle voice that made me feel safe. I told her everything, from those harmless pranks to the pain of being abandoned, mocked, and turned into a joke by my husband's family and friends. Dr. Emily listened without judgment, then softly asked, Madison, do you think you deserve to be respected? That question stopped me in my tracks. For so many years, I thought I had to endure to be accepted, to keep the peace by staying silent. I'd never once asked myself if I truly deserved love or respect. My voice trembled as I answered, I think maybe I do, but I don't know how to claim it. She smiled gently. Respect is not something you have to beg for, nor is it a reward for those who put up with pain. It's your right. What you need to do is speak up and protect your own boundaries. After that session, I decided to stop staying silent. I began to rewrite my own story, not to complain, but so anyone out there like me would know they aren't alone. I posted my story on Reddit, sharing all my pain, my isolation, every moment I'd been made a joke, every bit of dignity I'd lost. I didn't blame anyone, I just told the truth as honestly as I could. To my surprise, hundreds of messages of support and solidarity poured in. Women and even men shared stories of similar emotional wounds. A wave of encouragement swept through social media. My story was shared in support groups, on TikTok, on Facebook. People wrote, "Thank you for speaking up for us, and you gave me the courage to keep going." The feeling was incredible. For the first time in years, I felt heard, understood, and truly valued. Brian, my husband, and his friends like Jason and Kevin never expected my story to spread like this. At first, they tried to deny everything, claiming I was exaggerating or smearing my husband's name. But as the story kept growing, they couldn't escape the pressure. The flood of criticism forced Brian to take a hard look at himself. His job suffered, friends started to distance themselves, and even his closest colleagues went silent around me. I was invited to speak on the podcast, The Rising Voice, sharing my journey of healing and rebuilding my sense of worth after being emotionally abused by those closest to me. I told my story and made it clear, no one has the right to turn another person into a punchline for any reason. After the podcast, more invitations came from women's groups, community organizations, and support networks. I realized my voice, however small, could inspire others to stand up for themselves too. For the first time, I felt proud of who I was. The old Madison, timid, quiet, afraid to speak up, had finally learned to use her voice, to defend her value, and to encourage anyone who'd ever been dismissed or hurt by those they loved most. The atmosphere in the Walker family changed dramatically once my story started spreading across social media. Brian, who once believed he could explain everything away with the word prank, was now more silent than ever. Every morning, he sat for hours, scrolling through his phone, anxiety and tension written all over his face. Harsh messages and angry comments appeared under every post that mentioned his name. My mother-in-law, Linda, at first called to comfort Brian and told him to just move on. But when her own friends and colleagues began to ask questions and gossip, she was forced to reconsider everything she had once supported. I overheard her speaking softly to Brian in the kitchen. Maybe I've been too lenient about those jokes. Sometimes we forget that other people's feelings matter just as much as our own fun. Brian's friends, Jason and Kevin, were just as unsettled. In the past, they'd teased me, treated me like a shadow at every party, but now, with everyone pointing fingers, they hesitated to come to our house, even avoided answering Brian's calls. One evening, Brian came home earlier than usual and sat beside me on our old sofa. For a long moment, he didn't say anything, just looked at me with tired eyes. Then quietly he spoke. "I'm sorry, Madison. I never thought things would end up like this, but maybe I was selfish. I didn't care about how you felt. I was afraid of being judged, afraid to face my own mistakes. I was silent." It was the first real apology I'd heard from him after years of excuses. Linda, my mother-in-law, invited me for a walk in the small park near our house. She spoke in a quiet, thoughtful tone. "Madison, I used to think that if you just fit in and kept smiling, everything would be fine. But now I realize there are wounds we can't see. I'm sorry for not listening to you sooner." Those apologies, even if late, gave me a sense of relief. I didn't need them to change overnight. I just needed them to finally understand that my feelings, and anyone's feelings, deserve to be respected. Old friends and colleagues started sending me messages of apology, and some even shared their own stories about being the victim of toxic jokes. I realized that true change doesn't just come from one person, it ripples outward, slowly changing the community around us. As for Brian, he tried to make things right, but I knew some cracks can never fully heal. I kept my distance, focusing on myself and on those who genuinely respected me. For the first time, I felt a real sense of peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had finally dared to speak my truth, to defend myself, and to honor my own most genuine feelings. After everything I'd been through, I realized the most miraculous thing wasn't about who apologized to me. It was about learning to forgive, starting with forgiving myself. I stopped blaming myself. I stopped seeing myself as a victim. Instead, I began, step by step, to rebuild my life with a new mindset, stronger and freer than ever. I decided to move into a smaller apartment, decorating every corner by hand, arranging everything exactly how I liked it. For the first time in years, I truly felt like I was in control of my own space. Each morning, I made coffee, prepared my own breakfast, listened to the Rising Voice podcast, and took notes on my feelings and the positive things that happened each day. I chose to leave Horizon Media, a place where I'd once found success, but which was also filled with too many memories of being compared, gossiped about, and underestimated. Instead, I took a job at Inspire Creative, a company that valued individuality and encouraged everyone to express their ideas and creativity without limits. There, I met new colleagues, many of whom had their own emotional scars. We didn't just share work, we shared real stories about how each of us had grown through pain and found our own path forward. Chloe, my best friend who had once grown distant, now reached out to me, apologizing and asking to meet. We sat together in a small coffee shop in downtown Seattle. After a long moment of hesitation, Chloe grabbed my hand, her eyes filled with tears. Madison, I'm sorry. I was scared. I didn't dare speak up for you. But thanks to you, I understand the real value of friendship and courage. From those conversations, Chloe and I co-founded an online support group for women who'd suffered emotional abuse called Empowered Sisters. At first, it was just a few members, but slowly, hundreds joined, sharing their stories, helping each other through pain, learning how to love and respect themselves again. I also learned how to face Eric, not with anger and no longer expecting perfection. We still talk, still keep in touch, but I set clear boundaries. We only maintain a relationship if both of us know how to respect each other. For the first time in my life, I truly understood that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting the hurt. It means giving myself permission to be at peace, to no longer let the past control my present. Looking back on the road I've traveled, I feel grateful even for the pain, because it taught me the biggest lesson. My value doesn't depend on anyone else's opinions or words. It comes from my own belief, my choices, and my self-respect. I started to feel free. I started to love myself again, a new Madison Walker, resilient, proactive, and inspiring to those around me. And I know my journey of healing is only just beginning. Since founding Empowered Sisters, I realized I was never truly alone on this journey of healing wounds that once felt impossible to overcome. Every day I receive dozens of thank you messages, stories full of tears and hope from women everywhere. They tell me about the times they were mocked in front of crowds, about parties where they became the target of cruel jokes, about the long silences they endured just because they were afraid of upsetting someone else. I organize online meetups, creating spaces where everyone can talk openly about their pain and about the boundaries that deserve to be respected. We share experiences. How do you recognize a toxic relationship? How do you set boundaries without being afraid of isolation? How do you learn to forgive without ever letting yourself be hurt again? Slowly, Empowered Sisters has become a warm, supportive community where every member can lean on one another, heal together, and build new confidence. One woman once shared with me, Madison, because of you, I finally had the courage to stand up and say no to jokes that hurt me. I'm not afraid of disappointing others anymore because now I know my feelings matter too. I've been invited to speak at universities, to join the Rising Voice podcast, and share my journey from darkness to light. In every appearance, I always remind people we are never weak for daring to cry or for speaking the truth about our pain. The greatest courage is to face yourself, to protect your values, even if you have to walk alone. My story, from a cruel prank to a path of self-healing and helping others, has inspired many to change their own lives. Some women have found the courage to talk honestly with their husbands. Young girls have stood up and walked away from toxic relationships. Mothers now know how to protect their children from emotional abuse, even from family. I regularly share helpful resources, counseling hotlines, and the addresses of support groups so that anyone feeling alone knows there is help out there and they don't have to face their pain alone. Almost every night before bed, I get messages like, Madison, because of you, I found the strength to start over. Thank you for not staying silent. I've come to realize that the greatest power doesn't come from seeking revenge out of anger. It comes from daring to change, to live fully, and to share goodness with others. And in truth, I'm also healed a little more every day, thanks to the faith and stories of hope from the hundreds of women who are walking this new path alongside me. Looking back on my journey, I can hardly believe that I was once that timid, quiet Madison Walker who only knew how to swallow her tears in silence. I used to think that in order to be loved, I had to endure, that to be accepted, I had to please everyone around me. But it was that moment, standing alone at a cold, deserted gas station in the middle of the night, that changed my life forever. Now I understand every single one of us has boundaries that deserve to be respected. No one, not even those you love most, has the right to turn your feelings or your pain into a joke. Whether it's family, friends, or the world outside, when you stay silent, the pain only grows. But when you find the courage to speak up, you give yourself the chance to be heard, to heal, and to truly grow. The most important lesson I've learned is this: your worth is not determined by anyone else. It's found in your own choices, the choice to be loved, the choice to be respected, the choice to protect your emotional boundaries. Forgiving the past is how you find freedom in the present, but never forget to protect yourself as you move into the future. I know there will be more challenges ahead, more moments when I have to face doubts, harsh opinions, or judgmental stares. But now I have a strength that comes from within, the strength of someone who has fallen and learned to rise, not just for herself, but for others as well. I want to send this message to anyone who's ever been in the same place I was. You are not alone. If you're hurting, share your story. If you need a space to find understanding and encouragement, join our community at Heartless Revenge. There, you'll meet people who have been knocked down, who have been hurt, but who have learned how to forgive, how to heal, and how to turn pain into power. Please leave a comment below sharing your own experience, and share this video to spread the message of self-worth and respect to even more people. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartless Revenge so we can continue walking this path of healing together, building a community where no one's pain is ever dismissed or ignored. My name is Madison Walker, and this is my story. Thank you for listening, and thank you for having the courage to be true to yourself.